Okay.
It's gonna test it out and then we'll make sure we're ready to go.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. All right, today is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025. This is the Curriculum and Learning Committee meeting. The School District of Menominee Falls Board of Education curriculum meeting. There is a possibility that a quorum of the full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings, including virtual meetings. But there will be no full board action taken at any committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school district YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit the School District of Menominee Falls YouTube site. We are located in the School District of Menominee Falls District Office, Conference Room 3344-3345, Pilgrim Road, Menominee Falls. It is 5:31 and the meeting is called to order. Was it properly posted? Yes. All right, thank you very much. I am looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
That motion.
For a second?
I can't second.
Oh, I'll second, correct,
Second, you
because
can
I'll
abstain.
abstain.
abstain, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Minutes are approved, thank you for reminding me of that. All right, so first on the agenda is action item, the course request for 26-27.
Yes, we are, of course, always thinking ahead to the next school year, and we have two courses that the high school is bringing forward tonight for potential inclusion in their 26-27 course guide. So we have Dan Bauer here from our high school principal, and our first course is out of our computer science department. So we have Brenda Larson, our math and computer science chair, here to talk about the course high school honors data science, analytics, and AI. So I will let them tell you a little bit about the course. We did share the course proposal form that they had completed in Word docs.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just real briefly say that I'm really excited about this course. Brenda and Mike Kenya came to me with this idea, and it really it does replace a course that we have, and I would say it modernizes it in regards to what we're looking at right now. We all think of AI as this, tool that we can throw a couple of questions into, but this is really that real deep data analytics piece that, AI is, they joke about it, taking, people's jobs, but this is for our students to learn these skills to be able to work with AI to move forward. The accessibility of this course is something that really excites me because it's, comp sci, it's business, it's math, it's STEM. It covers so much of what we offer in the building, and I really think this is going to be a super popular course if it gets. Sorry, I'm just so confident. But I'm going to let Brenda give you a little bit more information about the details on it.
Yeah, like Dan said, we are super excited about the class. So it's a joint venture between the business and the computer science department. Mike Kenya would be the proposed teacher for the course. But the beauty of the course is it does encompass a lot of different hot topics that are huge in the STEM field and careers nowadays that we're preparing students for. So data science being one of them. We were just at UW-Madison last week. We took our sophomores in the STEM Academy on a field trip to them, and that is their #2 major right now is data science. So it's very up and coming, and a lot of companies obviously are keeping track of our data and they want to do things with that data and analyze that data. So that is a big part of the course. So for that portion, and Mike is working through, but we have Excel, we have Access, there's other courses already created curriculum-wise that really offer the students how to dive deep into that data and how to analyze it. And then doing the data visualization and all that. For the AI portion of the course, again, another big hot topic in the industry. But like Dan said, it's not just like not how to just put things in ChatGPT, but how to actually like figure out how does that machine learning happen? Like how are we actually feeding that information into the AI and have our students learn more of that aspect of it. So not just the usability of it, but more or less how it's created. And again, there's a lot of different courses out there, curriculum-wise. Code.org does a really nice job with some AI tools. And then for the business portion of it too, with the data using the Access and the Excel, SQL or SQL is a database software again where you're doing queries, you're using the information that you have in that database, and that is very similar to what they used to teach in infotech management. So there's a modernization, I guess, of the course. Part of the things that we did used to teach was just plain Access and plain Excel, but now doing a little bit more of the data analytics of that.
I just had one question. Both my children are in the business academy, so both of them had to take infotech as a requirement. Would this class equal for those that have already taken infotech? Like
This
how would
is like
that
the
work?
advanced, so infotech is still a course that we're still gonna have, but this is infotech management.
Got
So
it.
we
Okay.
did have this course, and maybe you guys can speak to that, because that is in the business department where it hasn't ran in the past year,
No,
I don't
no, I don't
think,
think
so,
so, yeah.
and I don't know if it just was enrollment or whatever, but so
Okay,
this
so
would be
this-
like
okay.
after it.
Okay, perfect.
So this is replacing infotech management.
Management, yes.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I think it is a great opportunity to get some hot topics in front of kids that they will experience later on and just get that exposure, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to potentially offer that.
So I think it just gives our students many of the skills that employers are coveting. So when you start looking at what that next step is, if you have the ground running with already have applicable knowledge. And did I see it was only gonna be offered to juniors and seniors then?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
So what courses do they have as like freshmen and sophomores? And where I'm going with this is I see there's no prerequisite for this course. I mean, throwing someone into SQL
Yeah.
is like, if you don't have like a programming background, like even JavaScript or something, where you get that mindset going of logic,
True.
they're gonna be lost in SQL.
True.
So is there like something
so-
they have?
What we have, and I know we don't have it as a recommended or required prerequisite, but what we do have in computer science, so in comp sci, most of our students take comp sci 1 and comp sci 2, which do focus more on the programming aspect.
Okay.
But then we do have AP computer science principles, so it's an AP course that a lot of our students take as a sophomore, and or, I mean, they can take it any year, but a lot of times they do take it sophomore year. And AP principles is only about 50% programming, and the other part does have a lot of units on data,
Okay.
a little bit of networking, a little bit of, so they
Sure.
do get a little bit of background on it, so that we're hoping would be not a required, but maybe a recommended course.
Yeah.
And I also teach SQL a little, I teach a unit in advanced programming, just a short, 2-week unit on, but those kids have a lot of programming knowledge. So you're right, when they wanna learn SQL, those kids are coming in already with programming knowledge.
Good.
So this,
We'll see, I understand what
you
you're
have to make sure
saying,
that the course description is very descriptive. So that they say, oh, this is recommended, I'll do that.
Yeah.
We did address that a little bit at the very
Yeah.
end of the court, so.
Yeah, and I would say just monitor that.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're seeing that being a challenge for kids without that programming, then maybe we'll look at that as a prerequisite then, for sure.
Here's what I'll say though, with, I have a friend who graduated with data analytics and she had to take SQL along for it. So part of it also might be if someone's considering data as a major, this gives you a little bit of a sample to be able to say, hey, can I acclimate quickly
Yes.
and, or is it a challenge? So I'm kind of liking the fact that it's just a survey and like you said, if you're in the IT tranche and you wanna do something more heavy to prep, perfect, but I think the two kind of have to go hand in hand together because you can't get into spicing data if you don't know how to access the database and put in the commands to get what you need, so.
And I think the piece on AI is important too, not just how to use it, but again, what is it? Because there's a lot that even, we don't know. Where does all the data go? How is it stored? How do they train? How much of it is accurate? How much is inaccurate? And I think giving the students that opportunity to really see that full picture, and it's not just a query use, is gonna be beneficial. And again, it's just the world that is gonna be looking for those skills as they're graduating, so I think it's great.
And then I think the part that I like the most is applied projects in technology, business, and healthcare. That's phenomenal. I think that's nice to get all that foundation about the technical aspect of it, but how is it used in the real world? I think that's awesome.
Hopefully then
That's
the
key.
kids can apply it to a discipline that they're interested in.
Right. So no, this looks great.
Do we need,
We need a formal motion approval, we can do it two ways, we could do each one individually, or we actually wrote it for both
Oh,
of
you
them, and we thought, well, if they
Okay.
both work, that's great, and if not, you could choose to split them apart.
oh, sure, no, if it's written both together, we can go forward with that. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
I'm excited to see,
We're excited too.
how the
Thank
students
you.
will respond. I'm sure you'll have a lot of people looking forward to taking it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll move to the next action item, and that is the fourth.
One more
course.
Oh, one more course, that's right.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, our other course is in the English language arts realm, so we have Allison Dinkle here who has graciously stepped up to be our interim ELA chair while Lindsay Coulter is out on leave. So we're thrilled that she's here. We know that she did not write the proposal, but she is here to share with us, and we appreciate her doing that. This isn't so much a new course as an update to courses already in place. So we're excited to be able to do this. Anytime we make a significant shift, I want to bring things forward to you because you have the ultimate authority with approval of courses. But this is, I think, really within the realm of what we're already doing, just enhanced opportunities. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll say before Allison talk about the courses, it really is just updating. I mean, media is different now than what it was when this course was written, and there's a lot of opportunities within the building for this course to work with our different clubs, our different activities, to augment what they're doing within the building. So it is really, again, that real world experience for students to have, for them to be able to video, record, provide that information to our school and to our community also.
So yeah, essentially we're just kind of updating the direction of the course, maintaining the same skills that were already being taught, but more of a partnership with the yearbook and providing opportunities for students to get involved in see clubs and different activities in a very intentional way, and learn these skills in a way that is applicable to real world situations, as well as filling that need of helping our yearbook, which is a large process. So if we can have these students collecting content and learning how to collect this content and meet the skills in this real world application, it's going to be better for them, as well as it's also falls in line with some of our school culture building, trying to celebrate those student successes and club activities, having again an opportunity for students to really see more and share more with the rest of the school, creating their Good Morning Falls. That'll be a monthly production. Often we've showed those in homerooms and such, and it's a great way just to, let people show what they're doing in some clubs. And I think a lot of clubs need more exposure because people don't know what all the clubs are and all the acronyms
Because there are so many.
Yes.
And so
Big problem.
it encourages not just the students who are in the media classes, but it will increase the exposure for those clubs and activities as well. I think that's what I've got.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love how this really embraces the student body as a community. I think this is great, and this is just an update to kind of modernize the curriculum, so no, great. I don't see any issues.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, Allison, and I think too that it definitely will give students opportunity to open that creative side of things and kind of, you know, if they're looking at getting into media, give that, you know, again, that experience and understand everything that goes in behind it. It's a lot of behind the scenes to get those perfect takes, so a lot of learning goes on in that, and I think this is a great opportunity for students, so. Any other questions or comments?
Just, again, very applicable to where we're living, so.
Yeah, great idea, thank you so much. Okay,
So it's a motion.
now.
So it's up to you if you wanna use this language, but you could do something along the lines of a motion to approve the proposed data science, analytics, and AI course and the updated media studies yearbook courses beginning in the 26-27 academic year.
Okay, yes.
What
I
she
need a
said.
motion to approve the new curriculums as stated by Laura.
I will gladly make that motion.
Yes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion has passed.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your support of the new courses at the high school. Thank you for coming and
Yes, thank you.
doing that.
It is always nice to have new and always looking forward for the students, and so, yeah, happy ideas. We appreciate it.
Put those in the course guide then for students to choose.
Just in the nick of time, right?
It just,
Yes.
yes, right in the nick of time.
Yeah, Heather Flats at the high school is dying to know.
She's
Are we
probably
doing these?
They're gonna be a post-it on the front of the guide, I think, it'll work. So now's the time to start thinking about 27, 28, just so, I was thinking a little ahead.
That's encouraging there.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you again.
All right,
Yes,
thank you.
so much.
Okay, now we are able to move on to the next action item. 4K report card update.
Yes, so last year we piloted a new 4K report card. If you were here, you recall that the 4K report card was very, very long. They had a large series of items in one semester were with support, and then were independent in the second semester. But it made for a very long report card that was difficult to track and very, very specific. And with moving 4K to trimesters instead of they had previously been on quarters or semester, and for doing a report card each semester, that was different from what the rest of the elementary schools were doing. And so we brought everybody in line together and we transitioned to trimesters. We decided that we needed to spend some time updating our 4K report card. And so we had a long conversation, and Nina Overholz, our elementary program administrator, was a part of that conversation with me to kind of first ensure alignment to the standards that we have and for 4K, but then also kind of tighten up and just create a little more brevity around the report card, but still getting the effectiveness for the teachers. So we asked that they pilot it last year, which they did, and we are bringing it forward now for formal action with no recommended changes from the pilot. So it was definitely an easier process to report out to parents. It left them, I think, enough flexibility in what they're reporting, but still got the key pieces for feedback for families about where students are academically in the different various areas of 4K, which are a little more unique than our traditional grades, right? So there are youngest learners who are learning a lot of self-help skills, a lot of group dynamic behaviors, things like that. So we would look for just formal approval of that. Like I said, no changes from what you saw a year ago.
Was there feedback from families that have experienced both 4K report cards at all?
We did not dive that deeply into it because some do, some don't, but I got zero specific feedback, so I take no news to be
Because I would assume if you would have got feedback, that would have driven some changes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
if people were seeing concerns, they would have brought them forward.
Correct, we did not hear that, and we met with our grade level leads at 4K a few weeks ago, and we're like, we're good, so.
The new K4 report card matches more similarly to what our K5 just did, like lengthwise and so parents who had maybe left K4 a couple of years ago would be more used to that K5 to 5th grade now.
Yeah.
For it to be more similar consistency wise.
The information I had last year as I checked in was that they felt like they were still communicating the right information, and so.
Yeah.
I feel good about that.
And looking through this too, I mean, again, it's 4K, you're making sure that all of those elements are being discussed with, you know, the parent caretaker and that communication is there with how the student is doing, so.
And they have the opportunity to communicate additional information through conferences, through their comments on the report cards, so that gives them the opportunity to get to real specifics as appropriate for the child.
Any other questions or comments at all? Okay. So I'll need a motion to approve the 4K report card update.
I have a motion.
And I will make that second.
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has passed unanimously, so I thank you for your work on that.
Thank you, appreciate the support for that.
Next item on the agenda, we have English Language Arts update.
Yes, I'm excited to
I'm sure there's a lot here.
Yes, we tried to keep it brief. Some of it is just a brief update, but then also our latest Act 20 data. We wanted to talk through that a little bit. I'm excited to introduce Sarah Ross-Lorelli. You're good right there. You're welcome to come over here, whatever works best. Sarah is our K-12 literacy program administrator. So she came to us from the New Berlin School District, and it's just been a wealth of knowledge and has been getting acclimated, of course, to all of our schools. Of our new program administrator, she has the widest range, working with 4K all the way up to, you know, senior ELA classes. So, as well as our disciplinary literacy, she's done a fantastic job, and I'm excited to partner with her on this update. So I'm gonna let her kind of take it on, and then I'll, of course, jump in as appropriate. So.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome.
Thanks, Amy, for that introduction. I greatly appreciate it. So what you have here is where we're at with our curriculum year 2 implementation. So across K5, we are really focused on that collaborative planning time. So a lot of wonderful things have happened at our K2 buildings, our 5K through 2nd grade. The FN and Shady have chatted during some early release time and came up with some collective agreements, and it's lovely. We've also added in some instructional walkthroughs and then focusing on our resource usage and implementation instruction. So how is my view going? What do we know? From that 3-5 team, they've also extended that state report card training and collaborated around forward assessments and standards. From a coaching lens, that's a lot of the lens that I get to look at. In that year 2 focus has been through the personal reading plans that will come through Act 20, as well as some interventions. So that standard application is starting to have those conversations, as well as how that's approaching from what the forward assessment is going to be come in spring. Talking a lot about those interactive radio louds, happening very early literacy, early learning, and then some student discourse and teacher talk is a big thing. Having teachers talk less and students talk more. So that's elementary. That's one of my hats. The second element of this comes from the Act 20 piece. So all of our K-5 staff and some support staff are engaging in the requirements of Act 20, which is Cox Campus, or one of the other literacy learning tools. We've chose Cox Campus. Over the summer, everyone completed the oral language is a foundation of literacy, vocab instruction, and reading fluency. Everybody will be taking their test if they have not already in February of 2026. So every K-5 teacher will have early literacy knowledge, which is wonderful.
Just as a reminder, they are doing kind of a flipped classroom approach, so they watch the modules. It's about total of about 30 hours of work. They watch those on their own time. We started that last January. We'll finish it this February, and then we compensate them for that time. And then during an early release or professional development day, they come back together and they talk about what they've learned and how they can apply it to their classroom.
So a lot of that MyView applications come from Cox Campus, and that's kind of mimicked on our disciplinary literacy ones in the second grade that we'll get to as well. Our Ames Web went off this year, 4K and third in the fall, which was different last year. This was the first time they did it in the fall after Act 20, so it all went out really well. Personal reading plans were created with our new digital tool NextPath and shared digitally with families through Secure File. We've also added some implementations along the PRP lens of Tier 2 and Tier 3 literacy interventions that are aligned with Act 20 through some things like UFly, if you're familiar with that literacy lens, My Focus interventions, and have purchased with Wilson Foundations and Just Words, which are Morton Gillingham based in that.
So those are supplemental resources that we would use, that process that we developed a few years ago to adopt for students who have additional reading needs and who are a good match for the various resources. So we continue to keep those intervention resources updated to make sure that we're able to be responsive to kids who need more.
Yes. And if we continue on, you can see how our students did at each school. 4K was assessed in the fall. There were some slight shifts, and they were assessed at different grade levels and were being really targeted. And I think it's also important to note that our Ames Web
So the norms shifted this year. So there were a couple of shifts in what we were expected to assess students this year. At a couple of grade levels, just the subtests that we used were a little bit different, and those were directed by the state so that they could get more targeted in just what the students' needs were and what their kind of proficiency level was. The other thing that happened was that Ames Web nationally renormed the test. So this is updated data comparing our students to kids across the nation currently, where the previous norms that they used on the test last year were pre-COVID data. So that shifted what kind of how we compare, when a student performs at X level, how they're comparing nationally. So overall, we have fewer students now who are being flagged as potentially at risk because they're below the 25th percentile. And so we like to think that some of that is very much our good work that we've done around literacy. We also anticipate that that's a shift in the norms as well. So just because a student maybe didn't flag this time and they were above the 25th percentile doesn't necessarily mean that their potential reading need that we've identified last year under the old norms disappeared. So we had to be kind of mindful about that.
Right.
But when we strictly look at who's below the 25th percentile, this is how we ended up. So, and I meant to pull that data, I don't have it in front of me right now, but we currently have 82 students who 4K through third grade who were considered potentially at risk for scoring below the 25th percentile. So that was a decrease from last year. And then this breaks it down just by school. So you can see that right now we're well below the 25th percentile, or fewer than 25% of our students are below the 25th percentile. There you go. Get that out. Now we also know as we go through the year, the expectations increase, right? Because we expect students to grow.
Sure.
So as we get to December, we'll start to assess again. December and January is our winter window for assessing.
So, quick question. When we see these and focusing on the bottom 25%, what that conversely means is not everybody who's represented here is then not proficient or above proficiency, correct? Is there still like a little category in between?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. So for students who are formally below the 25th percentile, we write a formal reading plan. But there are kids who are not quite where we want them to be, but aren't scoring at that level, who might receive an additional small group support in the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so we're still working on meeting the needs of every student.
Yes. What you're looking at now is by grade level. So this is how it showed up based on those new norms that Amy kind of shared. Looking at 4K, you're not going to see because this is a fall and spring test. So we don't write personal reading plans for our 4Kers. But we just keep that as a data point and data collection tool. When we're looking at our kindergartners, and you can kind of go across, you'll see that third grade is probably where we're living in the highest, and that's because they have the most knowledge and the most assessments that we're trying to address. So our coaches and our teachers are working very hard on literacy and how that works. It shows up for each student. But then because this isn't just Act 20, I did include our secondary ELA curriculum implementation. And so our 6 through 12 Middle and high schools have focused on resource usage and continued student discourse, as well as those high leverage instructional practices. Coaching has been focusing on mostly that new My Perspectives implementation, as well as disciplinary literacy and pacing. And our kind of year 2 focus is student engagement with texts, meaning the text like My Perspectives, but also texts in their other coursework. So, social studies has new text, science has different texts. So things of what we're defining text as being, but then really continuing on this idea of student discourse and teacher talk under the umbrella of thinking. Who's doing the thinking? And then working to just refine and align our practices with our priority standards. And so that standard work is very much a part of our secondary ELA. Overall, and Dan and Lynn can speak to that too, but I think it's a lot of just great work.
Yeah, as a reminder, during our professional development time this year, we talked a little bit about this at the full board, that every teacher is spending time looking at their standards with their department, and both over the course of the year we'll be identifying those priority standards again, as well as really unpacking those standards to make sure we're understanding the rigor of the standard, and then talking about how our knowledge of the standards that provides us as educators increased clarity, then how we provide that clarity for students and ensure that rigor. So that's an ongoing process this year. So it very much connects to the work at ELA. They actually, because they did some of that standards work as they were doing their curriculum adoptions, they're actually ahead of the game with it. So
Yes.
as is social studies. So, but other groups had not done that work for quite some time. So it was time. So that was a super brief ELA.
You're
but
welcome.
very concise, appreciate that. ELA update. Are there questions? Additional?
No, I don't have any additional questions. I think it's very thorough, and it's good to see that we're looking at some good numbers here again, capturing everyone in between, right?
Correct.
And so that's, when we're looking at the class size, and even how we structure the schools, it's just nice to know that there's nobody falling in between those cracks, even if they're not at a certain 25th percentile, but that, our teachers are there to capture everyone. And it makes sense to me to see this a little bit of a higher number for 3rd grade. Obviously the expectations are higher, making sure that they're really comprehending things and getting that support before they move on. So this all looks really good and makes sense to me, and I would say welcome and good work.
I think we've done a really good job over the last couple of years, especially with our literacy coaches that you supported at the elementary level, to really leverage our interventionists, but also our classroom teachers in providing support for the students who, again, aren't our lowest performing at the present time, or aren't showing the greatest need, but still have needs. And so our teachers have done a phenomenal job of embracing that work and receiving the coaching and additional kind of supplemental resources to support that continued learning. So.
Is the curriculum feeling more natural given all the changes where?
I think it's getting there. I think for a lot of teachers it is. I think we have shifted the conversation a little bit from, the first year when you're using a new resource, right, you want to go through and you want to use it because you need to know what's there. And so we talk about fidelity, staying tight to the curriculum or the resource. Now we're into more resource integrity. Like, this is your starting point. But at any given day or any given topic, that might not work for every student. And so you have the ability, that's where your art of teaching comes in, to be responsive to students. But the resource is still your first go-to. So but you don't have to read it word for word. You can liven it up a little bit. Some days you got to do that.
Right.
So I think that's just making sure teachers feel comfortable doing that, and like with the standards, having the knowledge to be able to do that effectively. Because if you don't know what standards you're trying to hit, and you haven't been able to be clear with your students about what standard or what they're trying to hit and what success looks like, it's really hard to make those instructional shifts. So I think we're in a good place. We're finding that right spot that will continue to, because it's such a big lift, will continue to take time. But I sat in on a meeting with Sarah just yesterday with the literacy coaches where we had exactly that conversation about
integrity to the resource rather than fidelity. And if you're feeling like it's boring on a particular day, then liven it up.
That's okay. And I think to add to the professional learning that every K-5 teacher is getting through Cox Campus has also enhanced their learning about what they're doing with kids. And so bringing literacy kind of back into the classroom in different ways is giving them that, I wouldn't say permission, but that creativity that can be like, oh, I know that this is a skill and this will show up, so how do I respond to that? And I think that's really huge, and that speaks volumes to the teachers who value the professional learning and making it applicable to their day-to-day.
It's great to hear that story. I just know that we threw a lot of curriculum changes at them a couple of years ago, and so part of it's the overwhelmingness of the sense of the volume of change, and so always being mindful of we don't want to burn people out. We know we need to make the changes, and so it's great to see that they can finally maybe lean into the creative side.
Yes.
And get over the anxiousness of having to be an expert in all the new stuff, so.
For sure. But I also think, when we talked about exactly that just being burned out, I think sometimes some of the burnout was coming from like, I don't know what to do because this resource isn't working for me anymore. So now there's so much here that for most kids on most days, you probably don't need to look outside it. It's right
And you
there.
have some experience now, so you
Yes,
can
it
collaborate
makes a
with
huge
partners and find
difference.
out what worked.
Yes.
Perfect,
Yes, so anytime you teach something the second or third time, it gets easier, so.
that's awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you, nice to meet you all.
You too.
I'll stay in support of my peers.
All right, physical education, so we have standards and curriculum updates.
Yes, so our physical education team, K-12, has been working for a while on looking at some standards that were brought forward by the state a few years ago, but hadn't been formally adopted. And we're still not quite ready to formally adopt them, but I think that will come at some point. But they've been diving deeply into those standards. And then also thinking about their curriculum in relation to that work. And Lynn Grimm and Angie Sardina. First of all, Angie Sardina is our curriculum and learning coach, so you remember her. And Lynn Grimm started this work as the curriculum and learning coach and now is the secondary program administrator. So they have taken the lead on this work. Again, that's been going on for a little while, and I said, I think it's time to come back for an update. If you're not ready to bring the standards formally for adoption for potential implementation next year, that's okay. But I wanted to let you know kind of what's going on. Because we haven't just been focusing on those core areas, we're starting to branch out into some of those important but not what we consider reading, writing, science and social studies. So it's still very important. So I'll let them start an update.
Well, thank you for having us today. As Amy said, this is going to be a very brief update, but when you spoke about that like making sure we're looking for that balance for the teachers, this department they have the PE standards that they worked on this last year. They are now also working on the health standards this year. So they do have that double lift, so we are trying to be really conscious of making it. And I said, couldn't have been a better year to have this for this department because we're doing it as a whole district. So it's really giving them that extra time that way. So it's working out. Again, we did really focus the process around, I just wanted to point out that board policy 330, so I want to make sure they're aware of that. And then I'm going to let Angie talk about K-5, and then I'll just do a brief summary of 6.
So some of the work that we have already done, so this is kind of what we've already done, just spent time looking at those new standards, and just it's always good to kind of look at those and think about what we've been using in the past to kind of see where those shifts have been, just to kind of get ourselves grounded a little bit. We evaluated those standards a little bit based on endurance, leverage, readiness. I'll talk about that in a upcoming slide a little bit more. We did a survey of parents. Again, when we go through this kind of curriculum review time, it's always a good time to just survey parents and see if there's anything that we should be aware of as we plan new units and are looking at those things. If there's anything we should be aware of, it's an opportunity to address any of those things. We identified some priority standards that we're going to be focusing on as we move forward with some plans. We did some unpacking of standards and are currently still working on that. That is a process, and so we are still working on that a little bit. And then it's a nice opportunity working on that, making sure, again, because we are K-5 are in 4 different buildings, making sure it's a nice opportunity to make sure K through 5 that we have some good alignment in those standards and how we're addressing those in our buildings.
And Angie and I did as much as possible last year to try to make it K-12 process. We work together, but sometimes we have to implement it separately. But the secondary dug into the Wisconsin standards as well. we did pull information and do some benchmarking on what electives are offered at other high schools, so we talked about that a little bit more. Focused on the, for the district policy, as I said, and again, as Angie stated, focused on the endurance, leverage, and readiness, and they are currently doing that work coming up for help as well. And then we focused on the 6-9 courses. We are going to talk about electives a little differently. We'll look at those in the future. We did some PD together around best practices, teacher clarity, feedback assessment, how to use small groups to and reteaching strategies in physical education, what that could look like. And then we did a survey at the high school of families and students around those electives. That's going to be some of our future work.
So just a shout out to these two because they did a fabulous job bringing together those two groups that don't often get to work together, but really have benefited from learning from each other. And then we'll just also have to say that these two have really dug into the physical education standards. I had this great conversation with Angie about like throwing and the throwing motion and like all the pieces of the mechanics of it.
And they've been teasing me too. They're like, you can come and teach with us now. I'm like, I got it all now. Like, I never thought I'd know so much about PE standards, but it's been fun.
And what was it, the different, I can't, just all
I like the backhand and the forehand of the motion and the underhand and
and whether
overhand.
you have what kind of material, like are you, I can't remember the name of the word now, but it was so great. I was like, I've never thought about that. So
There's a lot to think about. You know, all the intricacies of all content areas have their intricacies that you just have to consider, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of a timeline. Those first two dots are kind of way back to last fall, are things that Lynn and I did behind the scenes and then kind of presented those to the team. Again, some of the benchmarking of what are other districts doing with standards, because again, there's the national standards, there's the state standards, what are other districts doing as far as courses and things like that, as well as just an overview of the standards so we could present those to them and where some of those shifts are. Those middle dots kind of happened during the PD days last year, where we kind of did some work with them around just general best practices in PE, or just general best practice in general. I mean, good teaching practices are good teaching practices no matter what your learning space is. And then in the spring is where we did the surveying of families. We'll share a little overview of that as well, and then set plans for this year, which we are now living in. This next slide talks a little bit about how we started with some of the unpacking as well as the priority standards work. When you're determining, when you've got this laundry list of standards, which we are responsible for all of those standards and addressing all of those with the students, but you also want to say, but where are we gonna get the most bang for our buck, and where are we really going to focus on? These are the things that we really want to ensure a kid has at this grade level. Before they move on, we really want to focus on these and intervene around these and assess on these and report out to parents on these, because we really find these are essential and priority at certain grade levels. To do that, we look at a standard, and then it's kind of an exercise. It's very common in any content area where you say, you kind of put a tick in each of these columns for every single standard, and kind of you score, and then it might have 4 points if you kind of have a tick in each one of these columns. Is it knowledge? It's really beyond just this one thing. Is it something that goes across multiple content areas? They really need it beyond just the PE classroom. Is it necessary for the next grade level? If they don't have this, they're not going to be successful in the next grade level. As well as it a life skill to really be beyond the classroom in general. All of those things. The higher the score is, you kind of start to see those priorities emerge, and that helps us to whittle down from that laundry list, which again, we still address those all. We're responsible for those, to kind of see where are we really going to live a lot of our time in the classroom. So that's kind of what that activity, I don't want to say activity, that makes it sound like it's real fun. But that's kind of what that process is. Process is a better word.
And to be honest, 612 is doing this across every department this year, but like the piece that's missing for some of the courses are if there's another section that didn't make sense for physical education, but for like the 4 cores, et cetera, does it show up on a state assessment, like the 4 ACT. And then there's a rubric that they use, and they calibrate their conversations to make sure that they're like all in agreement, and it's a whole process.
And that doesn't have to be the only thing. We again have conversations if there were shifts that need to happen, but that at least starts the process instead of starting from this big list. At the elementary, our survey's a little simpler than it has to be at the secondary when we talk about ours. But it just was more of like, what do you value for your kids' elementary PE experience? You know, they do spend a decent amount of time in there, and parents value that time, and kids really value that time. So what do you want your kids to get out of that? So we just had this list of things that our PE staff developed, and we had parents just kind of choose your 4 most important. And what's interesting, kind of where you can kind of see where there's a line where things kind of drop off. So those top areas really were about sportsmanship and fair play and being safe, but also just about developing a really good attitude about yourself and exposure to things about lifelong being active and life finding activities that you enjoy. And then where their drop off is really was more things about like setting goals and rigorous activity and fitness testing and some of those things. So that really was good for us to know, because we do have stuff around that. So it's good for us to know, because those are conversations then that we'll have, knowing what, keeping that in mind, what parents really think is important. And we did have a decent number, 100 and some respondents, 150 something.
46.
Yeah, and knowing that we have parents with multiple kids, you know, I think that's it, that we were pretty pleased with that, knowing how sometimes some of our, how some of our responses sometimes go. We were pleased with that, so again, that's just good stuff to keep in mind as we plan units and things moving forward. Again, just another layer of the process, so.
So at the secondary level, we actually focused our survey around the electives, and we sent out the question, what is most important for your physical education learning experience? We gave these different choices, and they were to select their top 5. And on the next few slides, I'll show you how that it was interesting, because I think what we maybe expected wasn't necessarily what came about. And what was also interesting was that the parent survey and the student surveys really were closely aligned. I know, isn't that exactly what you think? So with the parent survey, the top, you can see, it's hard to read there, but the top 5, the top one was lifetime fitness in weightlifting and strengthening, and that by far across the kids surveys and the parent surveys was one of the top 3 in all of them. And Dan stayed tonight too, because we were going to talk a little bit about one of our next steps is to, we did benchmarking on other districts on the electives, and we have a meeting set up we have a new curricular chair at the high school, and we have a meeting set up to kind of discuss next steps about how we're going to look at this survey feedback. We're going to analyze that research. Do we pick a couple schools that we maybe go, visit and see how they're doing that, and try to look at how, do we need changes or do we not? And I'm not sure at this point, but that's just, we're in those stages. I don't know if you have anything to.
No, I think it's exciting to look at what other schools are doing. I mean, fitness, like everything else, has changed and evolved over time. And I think just by the parent survey and the student survey, you can see that, it used to be a team sport based thing. We play basketball now, we play volleyball now too. There's a real focus on lifetime fitness and, understanding your fitness needs and being able to identify those and to work on those pieces too, so.
I think that's even true in the elementary survey. Parents want their kids to just find lifetime activities that they can enjoy being part of. I think that's just a shift.
Well, and the thing that you see is surprising is, I think it was Stein who sent out a survey to some of the soccer parents that they're seeing the number of team sport participations drop off right in middle school, right around age 12 or 13. So when you start looking at the upper PE, and since kids aren't playing team sports as much, how do you still get them to care about and participate in PE activities? That kind of supports the, hey, we want to figure out lifetime solutions.
Number 2 for the families was, though, opportunities to learn organized sports. And so to learn about the basketball, softball, volleyball, soccer. And number 3 was that the lessons are interactive and engaging. That was about 60%. Then the next 2 dropped to a tie. The 4th and 5th were the lifetime experiences of yoga, walking, dance, golf, kind of like what we're talking about. And then 5 was exploration of community fitness options of lifetime health. So everything we're saying showed up in that parent survey. What is a little funny is the bottom 2 for the parent ones. One of the bottom 2s was collaborative group work opportunities, but if you look at the 9th grade next, that was like their number 2, because they wanted to be able to talk and work with their friends. Shocker. And so, yeah, for the ninth grade, their number one was learning about organized sports, and then their number two was the collaborative group work. Number three for the ninth graders was learning outdoor adventures such as rock climbing, scuba diving, outdoor games, archery, camping. And then 4 was lifetime experience with the weightlifting, that came up again. And then 5 was interactive and engaging learners. And so one of their bottom ones was exploring lifetime fitness. Some parts were the same, but not everything.
TikTok dances to keep them in shape.
And then 10th grade was their number one was a lifetime fitness experience in the racket sports such as tennis, pickleball, badminton, and that was about 55%. And then number 2 for them was the same as 9th grade, which was at organized sports of basketball, softball, volleyball, soccer. Their number 3 was the rock climbing one, and scuba diving, all that. Number 4 for them was weightlifting. Again, that for every single survey, that one showed up in the top of 5 of all the parents and students. And their number 5 was the yoga, walking, dance, golf. Their lowest one was for 10th grade was opportunities to set goals for themselves and monitor their own learning. So they did pick that one as high.
So what we've been tackling this year, this fall in October, during the PD time, really looked at the health standards now. At the elementary level, we don't have standalone health classes, so we are looking at how we are going to be integrating those into the PE classroom, as well as into, there's opportunities in science and during their guidance time where those things kind of can all kind of get covered during those times, but we want to make sure again that we're addressing all of those, so we'll be ensuring that. A little different at the high school where there's those separate courses, and then all this work that we're doing, the unpacking and the prioritizing and looking, all of that will get us set up to start beginning to do some of that UBD completion and looking at our units and making adjustments to any adjustments that need to happen with our units and things. You can see where we're hopefully going to be going this spring then with continuing to benchmark, finishing up some of those UBDs that'll be separate UBDs with health. Our health ones will be integrated into our PE ones at the elementary level, but separate UBDs for health courses at the high school. And then possibly by the spring, coming to you with some presentation with
for standards for potential.
Standards, and then
So just as a reminder that UBD stands for Understanding Business Design, and that's that unit template that I think we looked at last year. And as we're doing new curriculum, we're having teams do their unit plans in the same way, and the overall portions of that will then we're in the process of working to get those on the website as we build them. So it's a slow roll because it's new work for teachers with new curriculum, but we are getting ever closer there. So that's when we talk about that. That's what we're talking about.
Awesome.
yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Acronyms.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Just say that in all of the standard changes, you're not bringing back the tying the rope. I feel like
Yeah,
people are still dealing with trauma from that.
Still scarred.
Yes.
I'm not personal.
I don't think I could now.
Definitely.
I hated heights. So that was
Matt didn't enjoy the
It was a quarter inch.
Totally.
Sharing your ankles.
Hold on, let's roll out the mat. Slide a sheet of paper under that rope.
You make sure you didn't fall, so.
This is the collaborative part of the lesson, we're gonna catch you.
Teamwork.
That brings back trauma to trust falls.
Exactly.
Thank you, trauma.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that work, ladies.
As always.
Interesting feedback from families and students too. It's always fun to see the differences there. Okay, so the next item up for discussion is the 2024-2025 title report.
So here we are. So every year we come to you with the update on our title funding, which is federal funding we receive. And Laura does a phenomenal job of tracking that in the daily cute budgets and all of the things. So I'm gonna let her take the lead on this, and again, I'll chime in, but similar format to what you've experienced, but this is all the updated information for last year.
Alright, feel free to interrupt with questions at any time. So our title grant, we'll kind of go through all these different pieces. For those that don't remember what title is, I totally understand, and we'll touch base on each of them just as a reminder as we go. So the title grant program is federal. It's allocated by the federal government, goes to Wisconsin DPI, and then comes to us and has a lot of different rules that go with it.
Lots of tracking.
Yes, tracking requirements, can be used for this, can't be used for this, etc. Similar to other, any federal grant that anyone deals with. Our Title I funds are dependent on the school's percentage of economically disadvantaged students, but that just gives us the funding. We can then use the funding to serve our academically disadvantaged students. I make that clarification because it's not our low-income students receiving services. It's just a way for us to receive the funding, and then we can use those funds for the students that academically need it. Okay?
More economically disadvantaged students or students who are economically disadvantaged, the greater sum of money that you receive, so that's.
Ironic that that's what the deciding factor is, and then you can apply it to academic.
Yeah, then we have to look at all of our students and see.
Because studies have been done to show the connection and correlation. I'm sure there's, again.
Sometimes there's a connection, sometimes there's not.
That's
But historically,
studies,
yes, that has been designed to close the gap.
all of the numbers that go into it, I should say, the formula.
Absolutely.
Yes, so the Title I funds in our district, we use them for intervention services for our students in reading. We'll get into more detail for that later. Title II are dependent entirely just on our student enrollment, and those are used for staff professional development. Title III funds are based on our English language learners. Those are students that their main language is not English. And then Title IV is a wide variety. So we get the funds by student enrollment, but then it's kind of anything that can apply to improving the educational experience of the child. So all four of those combined, generally for us, sit around the $200,000 mark. So with the obligation of federal funds, some of the funds do get obligated to private schools. We, as the Licensed Education Association, are required to be the manager of the funds. So I work with the private schools to help them spend the funds also. We do all the management stuff on our side. Technically, the items are still owned by us. So there's a paperwork and oversight piece that we're in charge of. We do have quite a few of our private schools who participate. We have good relationships with all of them, and we encourage them to spend all their funds and work with them to help them do that.
When you said the 200,000 that we received, does that include payouts for private school, or they get their own allowance and we just help them figure out how to interpret and leverage?
Both.
Okay.
So the 200,000 does not include the private schools because I don't want to create confusing numbers for people.
Got it, thank you.
So the 200,000 was just our public allocation. When DPI allocates the money, they allocate it as one lump sum to us, and then there's a whole convoluted program that we input stuff into.
Another formula.
Yeah.
Nothing simple. So,
Yep, that breaks out the allocations to a private pot and a public pot. So that was a good question, thanks. Okay, so for Title I, we're considered a targeted Title I program, which means that we can use Title I funds on the students that academically need the services. So for us, we have two schools that qualified, Valley View and North Middle School. And the qualification again is based on that students who have economically disadvantaged status by the free and reduced lunch price application is kind of the the standards that is used. We do have one private school that participates in Title I also. So we use that because it's a standard that can be applied to public and private easily because it's a federal standard. So Valley View, you can see the allocation there, the 45,000 roughly. And North with a higher allocation because it's has a higher enrollment. So both fund partial salaries for a reading intervention teacher.
Very good.
Alright, for Title II, these are funds that we can use for professional development, but also have quite a bit of rules around them.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, so you'll notice we had a fairly large carryover this year. We had a little bit of difficulty using some of our Title II funds last year with Act 20 because we couldn't use it around things that related to Act 20. So for example, paying the teachers for viewing the campus videos, that had to come out of the regular budget, couldn't come out of Title. We also, because we were so focused on ELA and new social studies, we weren't doing as much sending people out to things.
Yes.
So, it was an ongoing challenge. So we're looking forward to, as we kind of move through, having more opportunity. I mean, the Act 20 piece will still be there, but
Sure.
and that restriction will still be there. But I'm hoping to continue to be able to spend those funds mindfully and on other things that we're focused on.
How long does the carryover last?
The carryover is good for 1 year plus 3 months.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, so for our Title II, the past years, like last year, we used it for our Disciplinary Literacy Institute work that we did, some literacy coaching and trainings, National Math Conference, a local literacy conference, and then some of our library
Media specialists.
Thank you.
some of their training.
Yes, some of their training.
Sure.
So it can cover a variety of things. It does have to be things that we're looking to do in our strategic plan, so there's that link there.
Yeah, so we've already been able to spend a good chunk of this year's already. Still have more to go.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Yes.
I love the syncing up with the strat plan, that's awesome.
Yes.
It all comes together
It does, yes.
when it works.
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes it's like, yeah, Laura does a great job of reminding you, that's a great idea, but you can't do that, but you could do this. And I'm like, okay.
Yes, but.
Yes,
That's
yes,
exactly
or
what you
yes,
did.
when, or, all the things, it's okay.
So Title III is our EL learners, and those funds you can see are generally smaller for us. We manage those funds ourselves. If you fall under 10,000, you end up in a consortium, and there's even more rules. But we worked really hard in the 24-25 year, to work with our EL teachers to start to develop some long-term plans that they could have to be able to spend those funds down that would benefit our students. Where you were talking about the carryover and how long do we have to spend it, this is a grant where you can see that we had to do some targeted intentional spending in certain years. So for the 24-25 year into the 25-26, you can see we had that tidings piece, which was that limited amount of time to spend before the funds would have left us. And that was because Ann Havenrich, one of our EL teachers this year, did a summer EL tutoring for our students, which was brand new for them. So they came in and did either small group, like 3 or less with her, or individual tutoring so that they could continue their language plan work through the summer. And we had really good parent feedback on that.
Yes, that was very good, so that was for sure we had done that. It was very successful, so we were able to use some of those funds for that.
Yes, and then those funds are also spent in the EL classroom teachers' rooms, and then along with some professional development and some family engagement. In August, we did like a family EL kickoff night where the families came in, we had interpreters for them. The EL teachers were able to talk them through like what transitions will look like for this year for their students, look at schedules, do you have any questions?
How valuable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're just really not familiar with things, to be able to have that resource is.
For sure, and we did that the week before they would, for the back to school fair, for the whole district, so.
So they had it.
Yes,
Yeah,
wonderful.
so it's something that we did that really was nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep, gave them a lead up to the back to school fair, so they felt comfortable coming, they knew what to expect.
Yeah.
So it was a great opportunity there. And then Title IV is kind of that, I generally say everything in the kitchen sink. In all of our title funding, a lot of times the rule is considered supplement, not supplant, which means we can't just take things out of our general budget and say, oh, we're gonna pay for it with grant funds instead. It doesn't work that way. So this area, we always have something that we commonly try to fund, which is the MiFi hotspots. We began doing that during COVID for our students and families that did not have any internet access in the household. And we've continued to use the grant to be able to fund that the past, I think, 5+ years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that is something we advertise out to all of our buildings. We remind them to work with their social workers. There's a process families can go through, a form they submit, they work with the principal, and then the technology department just checks off and then is able to give them that hotspot that they can use throughout the whole year. So if a family continues to be applicable, they can keep it through the summer and keep going.
That's awesome.
Do you know how many of those we issue?
When we were in COVID, we were, I think, closer to the 50 mark, and now that we're outside of that, it's decreased significantly. So we range anywhere between like 2 to 10, roughly. Sometimes families only have it for a month or two, sometimes they have it for a long period of time.
Okay.
Nice that we live available.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
They work usually through the school social worker? Could be
The
anybody.
school social worker and the principal typically,
Okay.
so that they can get there's a form that they can fill out. We try to make it as easy as possible, we don't want to inhibit
Right.
visibility
Yeah.
to access it. We also use the funds for some professional development pieces there too, we're able to. And like a comprehensive literacy network type of thing.
And then last year we used our talent development work as we were building that guidebook. We used some of these funds to pay for that consultant that we worked with. So excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
So it covers a wide variety of different things for the district to support all of our different schools and departments.
We will continue to do our best to put all of these federal funds to good use.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice work.
Good work. Thanks for the hard work and doing the tracking and balancing and managing. Keep it up and you're gonna end up in the business office.
So the business office raves about Laura and her
that's
detailed
awesome.
tracking. So I know I certainly appreciate it because it allows me to spend time in other ways,
Yep.
out in schools as well as working with teams. And I just know that it's all taken care of really, really well and accurately, so.
Yeah, and to have eyes on programs like this is important that we're utilizing it to its fullest
Yes.
potential and
Following within the rules, so we
Yeah.
continue to get the money and
Correct.
all of those things. So yes, I know when I go in to approve things that Laura's put together and it's all, yes.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, we'll move on to the last discussion item. It's the 2026 Fall Summer Academy locations.
So historically, we have, about this time of year, have brought forward both the dates and the locations for summer school. We did the dates a while back, so we're left with the locations. And we could probably have a conversation about whether this is a necessary report moving forward.
Sure.
Because I do want to continue to get the dates as early as possible, but locations is a little more challenging because we really defer to the facilities department about where work is happening in the summer. So this is typically the time, I always say, it always seems to coincide around this first snowfall. That we start really seriously talking about summer school and so these locations never are available before this time. So, but again, I don't know that these meetings are the number one way families are getting this information, but so we can again decide if we wanna continue bringing it forward this way. But for your information, we do have the location solidified this year and we are changing up elementary a little bit. It's been at Valley View and Shady Lane for the last couple of years due to construction, and so now we're able to shift back to Penrose and Riverside. And then we'll continue north and Menominee Falls High School.
Do we do any social media around this for
Oh, yeah.
planning?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. I haven't seen it, but that
Okay.
doesn't mean that I shouldn't have. I just asked the question because usually I wait till the guidebook from
Oh,
CD and
yes.
Rec comes up to schedule for the classes, and then you find out the time horizons. But the fact that we talk about it this early in advance does help with the summer activities and vacation planning and everything else going on, to be able to know, hey, when do those summer school classes really kick off, so.
So we do these dates,
September.
I was gonna say August, September, I feel
Nothing
like
going
we
on in that window.
we wanted to get them out early just because we are, the way the calendar is falling, we've had to do it a little bit differently. We haven't had that buffer week in between the last couple of years.
Right.
So we wanted, for vacation planning, we want people to know like, here's what it is, so.
And for teacher commitments.
Exactly, we just need you to know that if you're expecting that week off, we just, otherwise, we're going too late in July.
Right.
So I that buffer week was the second place.
We did ask principals to send the information out, like the dates out to families.
Okay.
We sent that request in October because we realized, like sending it in September when they're sending back to school, oh, and here's 2026 summer school dates.
Like, be a little much to consider.
A little bit of overwhelmed there, so. And they are updated on the website also.
Very good. Thank you. Alright. I did want to see if we had anything else, I know we have discussion on the items recurring here, and curriculum always has that list of things that we're kind of going through on this cycle. But if there's anything that we wanted to add to this as well, we can discuss that at this point.
And I just started a couple items that are kind of like, to me, pressing, the online curriculum option with the virtual learning. It'd be nice to kind of see where we're at with that. I know we were talking about getting that going for quite a while now.
Yeah, we've there's still some work to be done on with the finance piece, so that we'll keep working on that, but yeah, I can.
Now, how does that work with the title funding? I mean, if you're looking at a student that is somehow not able to attend, are we able to get any supplemental funding through any other means? Does my question make sense?
Not to my knowledge,
Okay.
no. So,
Okay.
so the conversation that what I had been asked to explore was that full-time virtual learning option. We currently have online curriculum options through Wisconsin Virtual School. So students still do that on at the high school level on an as-needed basis. There are a handful of courses that we offer through that, and then also we can make, there's some that we just don't offer face-to-face in the school, and so those are always Wisconsin virtual, and then there are other things on an as-needed basis we can enroll a student in through Wisconsin virtual. The big piece was the full-time online as a way of attracting folks, and that's where it's been a larger conversation, so it's not agendized tonight, so I don't wanna get into too much depth, but there I think is still more work to be done to make sure that that's a viable option for us, so.
I think the opportunity there was possibly to be able to qualify for full-time so that you could participate in athletics and activities. And so to really be able to create a hybrid experience.
Well, and not only that, part of the, I think, when we sent that survey about why people, families are open and rolling out of the district, one of the things that they said was they would consider enrolling in if we had like a full-time virtual option. So I think that's very important, especially as we get close to tighter budgets.
Yep.
Right.
So we wanna consider, that.
She's like back to finance.
Yeah, back to finance.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've been working
Everybody on
closely with
finance.
Caitlin on that.
Okay.
So I've been working closely with Caitlin on that, and that, continues to maybe have some more work behind the scenes that we need to do, but we have not forgotten about it. So that is definitely.
It's on the list.
It is definitely, it is at the top of my to-do list right now, and it has been for a while. Excuse me. I would also say I think we're very close to the piece around the curriculum information and transparency. We talked about that a little bit. We are working through some website pieces to make that happen, and it's again gonna be a slow roll, but I have that tentatively marked for December.
to be able to bring back. Now, there are a few things that have to happen to make that ready, but we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Excuse me. Elementary counseling curriculum, we did, we'd originally slated that for fall. I don't think they had enough information because they were just getting started to bring that, but we did just talk about that today. And I anticipate it sometime this winter, so. Excuse me. Oh, we're out. I thought I had a plan.
For you? Do you wanna mess?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna chuck it.
Thank you.
Sorry,
I
I didn't give it to you first,
thank you
but that's what, I have the dry tickle too,
Okay.
where I was like.
I don't know if I'll toss it back to you, but anymore. I don't want
If you want it, you gotta go get it.
to. Okay.
I'll try.
Let's see, then, let's see, what did I have coming up next that I thought, okay.
We could do December or January.
Okay. I know the post-secondary credit opportunities are coming up either December or January. We also, the big thing is bringing the schools over the next couple of months to do that academic update and really talk about report cards. So, middle school and high school will be here in December, and then the elementary schools will be here in January. So we will also have a talent development update in January. So, a lot happening behind the scenes there as well. And then math curriculum update will come sometime this winter as well. They're looking at some different resources for elementary to pilot next school year. Like to start a pilot for fall.
Sure.
So, because our elementary math curriculum is the last core area, but it is in need of updating, so.
Okay. And that's being looked at now.
Yes.
Okay.
We are actively looking at resources right now, so the goal is to bring two pilot starting in fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Anything else?
Not that I can think of outside of this list. I know that it's continuing to kind of get closer and closer to each of those pieces as we work down the list, so.
I always try to balance the making sure we're in a good spot so you have the right information, knowing that every item has so much that goes into it. I know you know that, so.
I love behind the scenes. All right. Well, thank you. There's a lot of information, good information and updates this evening as well, so. All right, if there are no other questions or comments, I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Can we just confirm the next meeting date?
I have December 17th at 5:30.
That seems,
And that is the last scheduled meeting that we have. So next month we would want to, I think, or I'd recommend
do have
that
that, yes.
we do the schedule for January through April.
yes, I would agree with that as well. Okay. And so the plan is to schedule January through April at the next meeting, is that sound good? Bring your calendars. Okay. Anything else that you guys wanted to cover before we adjourn?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right. A motion to adjourn at
A motion.
6:49.
We'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has passed. We are adjourned at 6:49 PM.